Hello and welcome everybody to this second mortgage marketing session. My name is Andy Shields. I'm one of the directors of Financial Reporter and of the Financial Reporter Mortgage Industry Marketing Awards, or the MEMAs. I'm joined here today by four of our MEMA winners from 2023, and the purpose of today's session is to really hopefully do a bit of a deep dive into what makes good marketing, useful tools for our reader community, and of how they can improve their own marketing offering, and kind of tap into the expertise of some of our MEMA winners from 2023. This particular session is all about where do you start? You know, what's square one when it comes to a marketing campaign. And we're joined by a whole host of winners from 2023 who are going to hopefully provide you with a bit of guidance on that. So in no particular order, from Barclays, we have Helen Carter. Helen won our Marketer of the Year award last year. We have Pete Muggleston from Online Mortgage Advisor, who won Best Lead Generation Campaign 2020-23. We have Ryan Torrey from Livermore Capital. He's got the award. We have Ryan and Torrey from Livermore Capital, who are our marketing team of the year 2023. And then finally, we have Laura Martin-Jones from Sesame Bancorp Group, who won Campaign of the Year 2023. So cracking team of experts we've got on our panel today. Thanks everybody for joining us. The person that's going to steer the questions and steer the conversation is somebody who knows a thing about marketing our industry. It's Mr. Jeff Knight from the Mortgage Marketing Forum. So hello, Jeff.
Hello, Jeff. Is that good?
So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. Jeff, I'll hand over to you to dive into the questions. Yeah, over to you, Jeff.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Andy. And thanks for inviting us all to do this. I think it's a great initiative. I think running the awards in the first place was really a really powerful statement for the industry, because I think marketing, as we all know, is misrepresented. I can't even speak, and there's not enough recognition going on for the people on this call, for example. Just going to take umbrage with you first of all, though, Andy. Sort of got a team of experts, and then we've got Jeff Knight. That's the way I read that. So what I want to do, you guys, here is I've got a number of questions to go through, and really the answer here is to share your knowledge in a way that we can help mortgage brokers with their marketing. So, and to kick off, when I speak to mortgage brokers, which will do a lot about marketing, you can see how confusing and daunting it really is, because they've got people talk to them about whether it's SEO, social media, get the most out of their website, and so on. So it can be very, very confusing. So as Andy said, the whole concept here is where do you start? Where do you start with your marketing? So really, I think as a starting point, I want to focus on how do you define marketing. So I think sometimes marketing is not really understood sufficiently. People think it's more about the promotional elements. And I'm going to just relay the Chartered Institute of Marketing definition. So that means none of you can have a cop out and say that as an answer. So the CIM definition is all about sort of managing a process that's responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying a customer or their client's requirements profitably. So, but it's quite quite a long definition. There's sort of a few jargons. So Tori, I'll kick off with you. How would you define marketing for a mortgage broker?
To me, I think it refers to a variety of activities that a company would undertake to promote buying or selling of their product or their service. I suppose that does sound a bit like a marketing example, doesn't it? But yeah, so I think it includes a variety of touch points, and businesses would use those to make a connection with the audience that they're trying to connect with.
Okay. And how will they go about making that connection, do you think?
I think they can do that in a whole variety of ways that suit them first. I think that's going to be quite key, is to kind of seeing, where their audience is that they're trying to target, what media are they consuming, and really kind of looking at that audience and where they are, looking for products or researching, and tapping into those channels as the first and foremost.
So Laura, over to you. How, when you're talking to your network, the brokers in your network, and about marketing, how do you go about trying to explain what it's all about? Because it is quite a complex subject.
Yeah, I think it can be, and I think for me, when I talk to our advisors, I talk around how marketing is a customer touch point. So it's every touch point that you have with a customer. So that can be from insight through to communications, through to the experience that they have with you. And essentially, it's an extension of you. It's an extension of your brand. So it's all the touch points that you create with your customer.
And do you find that often when you talk to the brokers that they realise they are actually doing marketing without necessarily knowing it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's what when I talk to advisors, we talk around is there's some things that you're already doing, and actually you might just want to evolve that, or you might want to deepen that. But the biggest takeaway for me, if you were to ask me what would I recommend to a broker or to an advisor, is around being consistent, be committed and be consistent. So what you're doing now is, when somebody has an interaction with you and they have an experience with you, that experience is the same every time because you're authentic to yourself and who you are. We'll replicate that through in all your other touch points. So keep consistency, keep committed, and what you're looking to do, make sure it's just scalable and workable for you and your business.
So you Pete, onto yourself and sort of the business that you do, which is generating leads for brokers. But I guess there's a lot of work the broker needs to do in the background to really make sure that the leads you're creating for them are maximised, I guess. So how would you define marketing in that regards?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a difference between marketing and brand. And
right.
How I would describe marketing is we're attracting people to the top of the funnel, right? And then what happens from there is we will do everything we can to help you turn that into revenue, but that's on you. And I've made notes to talk about this a bit later for one of the other questions.
That's fine.
The number of brands out there that are terrible in mortgages is staggering, and we get like quite a good number of firms that work with us or want to work with us that we have to say no to, because we know that in the wrong hands with the wrong branding, they can make a mess of the opportunities that we're teeing up. And in the right hands, they'll convert really well and perform really well. So I think from our perspective, how brokers can manage that, if we're distributing an inquiry to somebody, it's definitely what Laura's saying about being consistent, but having a strong brand isn't just a logo. It's not just a flashy website. How they come across, what their values are, and presenting themselves in the right way. Logo and the colours of their email is all part of it, but it's obviously a much bigger picture than that. And you don't necessarily win business by doing it, but you definitely lose it by having a bad one. And we've seen a lot. We've definitely seen a lot of them.
Yeah, well, I'll say I said this, I think, on the previous webinar. A brand for me is everything you do and everything you say, and that goes, so that across the whole business. So Helen, you were nodding then when Pete was talking about the difference between a brand and marketing. So what I often say to people is you need to spend about 50% of your time on your brand, 50% on your generating demand, if you like, and that, in terms of budget and time. How do you think a broker should actually go about doing that in reality?
I think a broker first off needs to really understand what they're trying to achieve, and then from that they can understand how much time they should be dedicating to each area. I think a lot of the time, not just brokers in specifically, but a lot of small business or even big businesses come with an end objective in mind. Like I remember when I used to work in social media, it used to be, I just want this post to go viral, rather than actually understanding, like going back a little bit and going, okay, if you want to go viral, what else do you need to do and stuff like that, and things don't just happen by magic. So yeah, in answer to your question, it's trying to understand more about what they're trying to achieve, who they're trying to target, helps you understand how much percentage you should be doing on brand or the experience or the whole marketing as a whole.
Right. Okay. And in last, Ryan, anything you want to add to this? And you are allowed to disagree with Tori as well, by the way.
No, but I totally agree with what you said there. I think like it's very easy to get kind of overwhelmed when you're kind of you know, when if you're quite early in a marketing journey, or you're new to it or not an expert in it, it'd be very easy to kind of be unrealistic with what your expectations are. And you know, I think like it's really important to be kind of realistic from the outset, and also be kind of patient as well. I think a lot of people see marketing as like a kind of, you know, they want to kind of inject a kind of boost into their business, but in reality, a lot of marketing takes time and effort and patience, and you need to be willing to kind of, you know, take time to review, make tweaks, and see sort of gradual improvements. I think it's definitely important to be realistic and be kind of honest with yourself about how much time and how much resource you have from the outset.
So I think that's quite a valid point there about it. It does take time, and there's so many newer lenders. I pick on lenders now because you know, they won't be listening to this, but they come into the market and thinking they're going to take over the world tomorrow. It does take time. I think it comes back to what you were talking about there, Pete, as well. That, you know, it might be buying the leads from yourself, or you're generating the leads for them, but there's so much more they need to do in the background to maximize it, and it doesn't happen just like that. There's no sort of magic, you know, magic wand everyone can wave it, I think. Cool, thank you. So thanks for that. So I think that should help define marketing, but for me, I think it's, people just need to understand it's more than just promotion. That's the sort of the key thing I want to get across. So Laura, I'm gonna start with you on my next question, if that's okay. Now this is I read, or was asked to read many years ago, which I use sometimes as a basis as a topic of seminars, etc., which is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the habits there is all about seek first to understand, then be understood. And I'm a real advocate of everyone should read this book. It's absolutely brilliant once you cut through all the nonsense that's underpinning it. But it is a really powerful book. So bear in mind that we're talking about here, where do we start? So I'm just wondering, is a good starting point really to really understand, a broker to really understand their target market, and how will they go about doing this?
Yeah, I think for me, what's really key for a broker to think about is obviously who they are, what they are, and you know, why they're offering what they do. In terms of their target market, you know, for me, it's look at what's your key skills. So, you know, what is it that you can really hone in on? So if you're, you know, you've got a really key skill, or you've got real reputation in terms of residential mortgages, then, you know, focus on that. If you've got a huge amount of experience in self-employed, and actually you can demonstrate and evidence that and share case studies and findings about how you've supported that niche, then focus there. You can always evolve your business. But if you focus on what is core and where your key skill is, build your reputation, build your strength, and then you can take that through into other markets as you develop. You don't need to hit everything all in one go. And I think, Ryan, you mentioned earlier, it's around be realistic to what you can do and what you can support. So, you know, you don't want to go out there and do everything straight off the bat. You know, do that one core piece and do it really, really well. Build that reputation, and then take your next step. Yeah,
no, I think it's a great. Helen, what about you? How would you help or advise brokers to start thinking about their target market? You know, should they be sort of trying to appeal to everyone out there, or, as Laura's saying, you know, focus on their strengths and really narrow their strengths with the opportunities that exist?
Yeah, I think any sort of marketing is targeted. Just some targeted marketing is not as targeted as it should be, or it's very broad targeting. So the reason why I say that is even on TV advertising, where you think it's going out to everybody, so it's not as targeted and everyone sees it, there is different types of TV advertising when you're watching daytime TV to watching primetime TV, and that highlights that anything is targeted. So if you are a small broker, are you trying to target the whole of the UK? Are you trying to target your own town, village, whatever? What sort of age group are you trying to target? What sort of habits do they have? Do they listen to the radio? Do they watch TV? Do they read newspapers? Do they read the trade press? That sort of stuff. So it's trying to understand more and more about your customers and what they do, versus also trying to apply all the stuff that Laura was talking about with what you're good at and trying to involve all that.
Yeah.
So it's trying to understand more and see if you can get any data about anyone that you're trying to target, and then see what they want to do, even if that's, if you are working on a very small scale, leaflet dropping, for example, or putting posters up where they might be walking past, even if you don't have the money, budget or expertise to go wider than that and think big scale and go TV, radio, etc.
Yeah. So I might have said this on the previous webinar we've done, but a broker said to me years ago that I asked the question, where do you find your clients? And he said, my clients all drink in champagne bars, therefore I hang out in champagne bars. Now that wasn't a literal thing he did, but that was, he was trying to get across that he's going for high net worth clients, and therefore he had to target them accordingly, basically. So Pete, what advice do you give when people come to you in terms of honing in on a specific target market?
I think it depends on the size of the organisation that you're talking to. If you're starting out or you're a one-man band, or then I'd probably give different advice to a firm that could take 40 inquiries a day.
Yeah.
It does depend on who it is and where you are in your journey. If you've not ever marketed before to generate your own clients, then you've got to start really, well, you will be starting small, you've got no choice, but like to think that you could then compete with the kind of budgets that the bigger organizations will be spending millions on is just, madness. So to define I think there's multiple different ways of identifying what would be a good niche, but niching down into something specific. So it's like a weird noise coming through. I don't know if
I'm getting that as well.
Yeah.
Signal.
Yeah.
So there's different mortgage types, right? So remortgage, home, but they're not niches. And I think for me, if I was advising someone who was a smaller business, what people types are there out there that you could drill down into, like really specific, or property types that you could drill down really specific, and become an expert at that thing. And you may have that knowledge already of an area that you want to go do, or an area that you love that you don't necessarily have the knowledge to, but one of those two things is probably a good place to start. And then just be mega at one thing, like be the best CIS worker mortgage legend that exists out there, and really dominate that, because there aren't that many other people doing that, and you will then by definition be more attractive to those CIS workers, and then put yourself where they are. So you've got loads of content, you've got loads of knowledge and support, you've proven that you're an expert to help those people. You're more likely to get approvals and get the best deals for those guys, and then go and put yourself where they are. Go into trade magazines and start doing talks at construction events, and there's all sorts of different ways you could do that. But I would start with one specific thing and nail it.
And also, just because you're focusing on that particular niche doesn't mean to say you have to turn away clients who don't fit it. It gives you that. You've got
to be careful there, Jeff, because like we work with firms who are, their whole business is called JapaneseNotReadMortgages.com. And then someone comes to them who is a self-employed high net worth trader in London, and it's, well, why would I be working with these guys? So there's definitely a balance. And there's almost like there's a trade-off. You can be a Ron Seal business, I call it, where it's like you are exactly what it says on the tin, or you can be a generic brand that says you do the specific thing the customer wants. But like if you're the latter, then it's probably a less powerful message than if you're the former. So it's the real balance to get there, I would say, and how you achieve that. But Yeah, obviously, every broker is whole of market pretty much. That isn't a USP anymore, is it?
Right.
So you could help somebody if you are an expert, Japanese not really mortgages, that wasn't one of those people. But yeah, your marketing's not necessarily going to attract them. And I think the point to marketing is you shouldn't be trying to get everybody.
No, unless you're Google.
Yeah, or online mortgage advisor, obviously.
Of course, yeah. And I think someone's picking on you, Pick. It must be one of your competitors trying to come into this call, because every time you're speaking, someone getting that feedback.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Right.
It was the first time.
Yeah. So it's right. I think you want to add to that, because I think a good starting point to help a broker is actually look at who are their current clients. You know what similarities they've got, and then how can they go out and find similar, like-minded clients. Obviously, if they're a new broker, they can't do that. So, is there anything you want to add that's been said or not been said already?
I guess so. In terms of finding clients and stuff like that, I think it's probably important to not forget about the clients that you're currently with as well. Like when you think about your own, in terms of building your reputation, I think it's quite it's pretty important to have that as a basis whenever, if you think about trying to win new clients, and if you don't necessarily have biggest budget in the world, but things like boosting your reputation as much as you can, whether it's things like like encouraging current clients to leave you reviews on Google and LinkedIn and Facebook and things like that. I think thinking about how you can have your reputation as strong as possible is pretty important, I think.
Yeah. So sorry, Ryan talks quite interesting there about new clients. So what about existing clients? Is it any benefit to brokers to really sort of try and hone in on their existing clients more than new clients? What would you think?
To me, I wouldn't say they necessarily need to home in more. I think it's more around still keeping in touch with them and keeping that touch point there. So thinking of ways, not necessarily outside the box, but just simple things like LinkedIn, if that's where their existing client base is, just making sure that it's part of their weekly schedule, that they're thinking ahead. Okay, what am I going to post this month? Things like email, if they have got a CRM system, or just a basic outlet that they can set up a group. Just sending some communication once a month. It doesn't necessarily need to be frequent. Again, just that kind of frequency that fits in with their schedule. So they're not going to stop everything to be able to do it, but actually something that's just quite easy to tick over in the background, just to keep their awareness levels there and that touch point still engaged.
Okay, cool, thank you. So I'm going to move on to my next question, and it sort of builds on something that Laura said in the previous conversation. I'm sure all of you at some point have done quite a comprehensive marketing plan that goes on for 100 pages and then goes into the drawer no one looks at. But as a starting point, it's probably a good idea to have some sort of structure of a plan for mortgage brokers, but they're not going to have time and resource to really do anything fancy and comprehensive. So what sort of tips could you give? I'll start with you, Laura, actually, to have a marketing plan on a page, because you already sort of referred to this with the who, what's, whys, and those sort of questions.
Yeah, I think for me, as a broker, the key things are around, be clear, be focused, don't get caught up too much. I think, Pete, you made the point before around, a small business versus, a larger organisation. A larger organisation, they'll tend to have marketing support in-house or or even outsourced potentially. But if you're looking at your smaller firms, what you build and what you commit to needs to be manageable for you. So you can outsource and say, right, okay, external marketing company, please come and write us a marketing plan, and and take this 10-page plan, and then, to your point, Jeff, sits in a drawer because it's not able to be delivered, or you don't have the resource or support to deliver it. But in terms of where I would say you would start would be, like I say, be clear, be focused, use it as a roadmap. So this is what I'm going to do, and these are the points at which I'm going to do it. Note your KPIs and your measurements. So what you're going to measure success around. Now that can be qualitative, it can be you know, having a conversation with somebody who goes, oh, I saw you posting on social media, I saw you talking around this, I really want to inquire about that. Or it can be around, you know, quantitative, so it can be your reviews, your Trustpilot, you know, your recommendations, your case studies. You know, I think about, and certainly when I talk to our advisors, we talk very much around, you know, build up your Trustpilot, because you know what, through any purchasing experience, everybody quite likes that validation before they make that purchase, or before they go for that service, whether that's Amazon, whether that's taking a new mortgage product, whatever that is. So build up your Trustpilot, you know, share case studies. You know, I think about it when people look, 9 times out of 10, everybody's got a story that sits behind them, don't they? Yeah. You know, I look at my own situation. You know, I've a blended family. We have 4 children between us. And in terms of, you know, our situation, we went direct to one of the high street lenders, and they were like, oh no, that doesn't fit for us. We went and spoke to a broker, and they're the best person to tell your story. And do you know what? My situation is quite common. You know, I look at my friends who, you know, are in their 40s, very similar setups, very similar family dynamics. So talk about that in your case studies, because do you know what, when you can relate to it and you can see it and you can read it, you go, oh, do you know what, that's similar to me. And you know what, there was a solution and there was an outcome. So it's, you know, it's around, it might be, like I say, you know, that kind of quantitative measure, but that could be what your KPI is, and that's absolutely fine. But it's around measuring it, it's around understanding it, and just being really clear and really focused.
Yeah. So Helen, I think Bill, I think storytelling for me is a really powerful tool that's been around for millennia, really. And you know, to put it in perspective, I was helping a broker with something recently, and they're very focused on you know, the mortgage products that they can help with, the target market section. They did all that really well, but they really fundamentally forgot one thing, which is why they existed in the first place. And when you speak to them, they had a really fascinating story of why they set up. And I just feel, this is my personal view, that that's where brokers can really come into the forward. What is their story? Why are they here? What are they here to deliver for their clients? So is that something you sort of agree with or disagree with? You know, how can brokers create a better story, do you think?
Yes, because obviously, yeah, I do agree with that. Sorry, because obviously there are hundreds of thousands of brokers out there that anyone can use, and especially with the fact that we can all speak virtually now, or don't even have to do virtually, you can do everything online or on the phone. There's a lot of competition out there, and so I could probably go to 10 or more brokers today, and they could probably get me a decent mortgage. But I've obviously got to choose which one to go with, and so the storytelling is really key, and it's trying to understand what actually resonates and what relates to people. A lot of people might not see it from an outsider's perspective, so they'll talk about some stuff that they think is really important to their company, but actually people external don't really care about it. Yeah. But then some things that they might just say flippantly, oh, by the way, we've done this, is actually really crucial to customers that would be wanting to use their services. So especially for small brokers, I would probably maybe talk it through with someone who is not in the business, just to see what might resonate, or even with previous clients, see why they came to them previously. I even do this now, even though I work for Barclays. Whenever people kind of interact with us, I've just done an event, and it was very simplistic, but I asked people where they found out about the event, and monitored it. And that is very basic understanding, but it allows me to realize that next time I do an event, I'll be using those suppliers and not those suppliers. So yeah, just from a simple storytelling, tell your story to other people to see which parts resonate before you communicate it to other people, and then understand where people are hearing your story to tell your story again and again to get more clients. Yeah,
brilliant. So Tori, at Livemore, I'm guessing you've got brand values that's been set up by yourself or previous marketing people. How would you define what a brand value is, and how can that help a broker, do you think?
Well, we're actually re-looking at our brand values.
Okay.
So it's a very timely question, Jeff. But yeah, I think we actually kind of made sure that we took the business on the journey when we were deciding what our brand values were going to be.
Yeah.
So we started out with kind of employee survey as to, you know, what are the key values that resonate with them and what is important to them. And then from that, it was kind of just looking at our business and really thinking, when we're actually talking to customers, how can we link those to a brand value? So, you know, for us in the 50 to 90 plus space, you know, it's about being transparent and being very clear. And that was a real key value for us. So I think from a broker perspective, it's kind of really looking at your business and who your target audience is, and actually trying to see what value is going to really help you support and drive your business forward, and then looking at the touch points where you can bring that value into your comms.
Yeah, what I found over the years, particularly in a large organisation, you speak to 6 different people on executive board, how to define their brand, you always get different answers. So sometimes it's really important to just go back to base and say, why do we exist as a brand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Pete, what advice would you give a broker if they were? They're back again. They're after you.
I was on mute then. That can't. I was on mute. I didn't even hear the question, Jeff. Sorry.
No, that's right. Yeah, I was saying, is your main competitor artificial intelligence? That's what it sounds like. I'm just saying, if you sit down with a broker and they say, right, can you help us with a marketing page on a marketing plan on a page? You know, what sort of advice would you give them? What should they be thinking about?
I think it's really difficult for brokers, especially if we're talking like smaller, newer businesses or just smaller, you know, because you're everything, aren't you? You're like almost the mortgage advice is like a small little bit of your job. You've got to be, you know, recruitment, marketing, and like all of these other things aren't what you're an expert in. I think a lot of people who leave employed world and go and set up self-employed as brokers underestimate how bloody hard that is. So I think that to get it right and expect that you will get it right is an impossibility, and don't even think that you know, take that off the table. I suppose you're going to make loads of mistakes, and the quickest way to being successful, I think, in marketing as an individual is going to be kind of playing on your personality and being you know, that I hate the phrase actually, but like the personal brand, it seems to be like this weird thing, but like people don't underestimate how important it will be that whoever you're talking to buys into you as an individual. And I would really start there. Like there's so many, as I say, we've worked with hundreds of firms and hundreds of brokers, so I've seen the full range of types of brand that are out there, and you can do so much damage by getting that wrong. You could be the best broker in the world, but if you've got if something's not quite right in how you put yourself together, first and foremost, you can just undo a load of hard work from marketing in general. So I'd start there. I would put yourself together in a way that makes you attractive for anyone to want to work with, and that would be from, you know, how you position yourself to customers, how you email, like what's your grammar like, a bit of your brand and stuff like that. But like, you know, are you using technology or are you writing things down on the back of an envelope? I mean, there's what are you wearing if you're doing a call? What's in the background? You know, have you got the washing line? Because a lot of people working from home now. I did a call with a broker earlier, and I won't say who it was, and he had like his ironing board behind him, and I'm like, is he going to be speaking to our customers with his ironing board behind him? And what's that saying? But he's not thinking like that, and he should be. So sorry, Jeff, I get a bit excited and I probably not answered your question. I think
that's all right. That's all right.
One-page marketing plan, don't have an ironing board in the background would be part.
Unless you're Iron Man.
Stop putting people off.
Yeah.
Get the basics right. Like a simple brand, a nice, steady website that doesn't try too hard, but doesn't like a failed GCSE project either. Get some testimonials on there, you know, use Trustpilot. You don't have to have 1 million Trustpilot reviews. Just the ones that you've got are legit and they are good ratings would be helpful.
Yeah.
And then pick your niche. and start there and hammer your content, like be a real expert in one area, and just do loads of it. That would probably be how I would position it.
Get the basics right, and everything else will happen, really.
I don't think, I wouldn't stop there, but I'd definitely get the basics right and stop putting people off.
So Ryan, people talk to me about humans. So this is a people-based industry. So how can a broker humanize their brand, you think, a bit more than they're doing today? Because I see a lot of websites, I'm sure you do as well, where you can't see the brokers on there, and sometimes I think that's doing them a disservice. Obviously it depends on their strategy, etc. But so what's your view on sort of humanizing the brokers a bit more?
I think we talked a bit at the start about being authentic, and I think part of that is, I think it's important to think about what you as a person and as a brand you're authentically good at. Like, for example, like if you're thinking of starting a blog or something like that for your website, like is that really what you're good at? Are you a good writer, and do you have good like turn of phrase and things like that? And I think it's just about, think like, is that the right solution for you? So I think a big part of like building and humanizing your brand is just making sure that you be authentic, and think about the things that you should do, but also think about things that like maybe you shouldn't start with.
Yeah.
And like, don't be afraid to start small. And if you want to go into doing things like social media posts, like get the hang of doing organic social posts before going down the road of putting money into ads and things like that. But like, most important, I think, just be authentic to who you are and what you're good at.
Cool, brilliant. Thank you. I'm going to move on to a different topic now. Like every profession, the marketing profession is full of jargon, and one of which people often talk about the marketing mix, and sometimes that people use it in the completely wrong context. So I'll start with you, Helen. I mean, could you give a brief overview of your understanding of the marketing mix and what it might mean for a broker? And not expect you to go through the whole mix, but just an overview.
Crikey, the GCSE business questions are coming thick and fast. Basically, everyone loves an acronym and wants to shorten things, so they roll off the tongue. So the 4 Ps is like a shortened way of making sure you've got all the fundamentals right in marketing for the customer. So the 4 Ps are like the right place, price, product, and promotion. And then the 7 Ps is an extension of that, and how it can help brokers is by identifying like a simple tick list. It's understanding what your customer wants is key. So you've got the right product, place, promotion, price for your customer. So it's not everything that we should be doing, but it just kind of like, have I done this sort of thing. But obviously under those, as I said, we do like an acronym. Under those pillars, there's a wealth of things that you should that you could be doing, not should be doing, that you could be doing. So it can get quite tricky, and you can get overwhelmed by how much you can do. So it's more like, have we got, like, I don't know, if we're going to an event, is it the right event that we should be going to, or are we in the right location for what we want to do? For example, don't be targeting first-time buyers in an old people's home, for example. Or then are we using the right types of promotion? So like going back to the older people scenario, there's no point advertising some things when people are not receptive to that. So don't I'm trying to think of something. So if your target market is first-time buyers, don't go advertising them in the Saga magazine, or you might be advertising them in that magazine because those are the people that might be helping out their children with their deposit. So it's trying to understand more about your customer to make sure that you can target them most effectively.
Okay.
I
Can I
probably
just
jumped
check?
on a bit, but there.
No, that's fine. I'll give you an A for that one then, for your GCSE. Were
I
you
don't
ex-
know if they do A anymore,
oh,
but I'll take
okay.
it.
Oh no, yeah, okay, it's a 9 then, or whatever it is. So were you expecting an MA related questions, or?
No, the fundamentals are great. No, I was just if you ask me first on listing all the 7 Ps, I'll probably get lost and
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
won't be
I
able to
wasn't
answer them.
Laura, I'm going to pick on you here for one of these, which is because you've already sort of inferred it, which is the sort of the whole process. Because what I like about the marketing mix as a starting point really is because it helps brokers think that it's beyond just promotion. There's all these other points to think about. So, so if a broker's trying to generate leads and they're not answering the phone properly, that should be thought of. It sounds obvious, but sometimes it's the obvious things that get forgotten about. Everyone talks about optimizing your website, but sometimes they don't optimize in the background as well. So is there anything you want to elaborate on in terms of helping sort of the whole customer journey, if you like?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I think Helen articulated that answer really well, because for me it is around that. It's that checklist, but it's also providing that that focus, that structure, that rigor. What I would say to an advisor, to a broker, is use it to enable you, absolutely, but don't use it to hinder you. So don't get caught up in the theory and the depth of it that people spend years studying and crafting. Use it, like Helen said, use it in a way that is accessible to you. So if that is a to-do list, if that is a sort of checklist, if that is just to structure your thinking, but don't think you've got to go through that rigor and that process to to the detail that you can get sort of down a rabbit hole with. To your point, Jeff, around process, I'm really passionate about customer experience, advisor experience, and I do believe that every single touch point is an opportunity for you to position yourself, articulate yourself. It's part of your brand, it's part of who you are, but it's part of your credibility. It's part of to Ryan's point earlier, it's part of how you sort of demonstrate your authenticness, demonstrate your values, demonstrate your integrity. So I would say, as a broker, I would look at my end-to-end process and sort of work through it step by step and say, is that how I want to be engaged? Is that how I, want to be spoken to, talk to? Everybody will sort of tell you who knows me. I'm hugely passionate about words because I've made a career out of it, but in terms of how you articulate yourself, how you the perception that you give, and I think you can make so many changes and so many positive changes by little things, by looking at your processes and looking at how you talk and how you engage and how you welcome somebody or the experience that they have. And so, yeah, hugely passionate. And I think it's an exercise that, obviously talking about maybe a smaller firm, that you can do and you can make a difference with quite quickly.
Yeah, fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you very much. So, Ryan, I'm going to move on to one of the other Ps that Helen's already covered, which is place, which is all about distribution. So the example I give here is a couple of years ago when I was setting up my own business, I needed to find an accountant. So I got the usual referrals from friends and family, etc., which most brokers would tell you where they rely a lot on to get new business. But in that process, I still went on people's websites, their social media, to check them out. So how important do you think in today's world is a website, for example, to distribute the broker's brand, if you like?
I mean, I guess it sort of depends, doesn't it? Like, if you are trying to attract more visitors digitally, then obviously having a website is really important. But if your business is largely growing through word of mouth and as a local business, you might consider a website to be less important than like local advertising and things like that. And even like you might consider having a LinkedIn account to be more valuable to you than setting up a website. So I think I think it's about thinking about for going back to kind of thinking about being realistic about what your budget is and what your expectations are. And I think if you do that you go through that full thought process first, then I think you can kind of arrive at whether a website is good for you. I don't think it's a case of like a website isn't like a one size fits all solution for everybody, just because we're all using the internet, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So Pete, just to sort of build on to sort of the last point I want to cover off today, really. When people talk about marketing, they generally think of more communication straight promotion. So these, when I started off in marketing, which was about 100 years ago, the tools available was quite limited. But now there's so many ways you could promote a product. Where would you say a broker should start, if at all? There is one thing that's better than another. You talk about websites, SEO, PR, Google, blah blah blah. So there's so much.
Yeah, good question. Where should this start? So if you want to have some immediate results, you've got to advertise.
Yeah,
pretty much. You've either got to generate some good content and share that around to people you already know, that you already have access and contact details for. Get your phone. I did when I started out as a broker. I messaged all in my just text everybody that this is what I'm doing, and that's marketing in a way. Once you've exhausted everyone that you know and all your friends and family, then you've if you want immediate return, you've got to advertise. Everything else is going to take work and effort. We're 15 years in on our SEO strategy, and you can't create a website and Google even know it exists for 3 months, let alone rank in Google and get some results. So it depends what you're after. If you've got a lot of time on your hands and a load of cash, you could start SEO. I wouldn't recommend it. I would focus on product. Out of all of those, I had to Google the 4 Ps, Jeff, when I saw the question, but that's because I'm not the marketing guy. But product for me, if you get the product right, then people will pay the right price for it, and it will promote itself. And you've got to put yourself together in a way that makes it really obvious to everybody who you are, what you do, and why you're brilliant. And I would spend a lot of time doing that. And from that, then you can start creating content. You can do videos, you can interview customers, you can write blogs and all sorts of stuff, and put it everywhere. There's tools out there now that can just populate your content in multiple places at once without you having to work too hard about it. So website's important, but it's a long game, that.
Yeah, so basically your advice is advertising to generate the demand. But where would you advertise? Because you've got Instagram advertising, Facebook advertising, Google advertising, and so on. So, or they could stick an ad in the local Hertfordshire Advertiser if they wanted to. So, any sort of particular tips on how to decipher which one to go for?
Something you can measure.
Okay.
So you can. I've done loads of stuff over the years. We've had adverts in car parks before, we don't do that now, but how many inquiries did you get out of that? No idea. I've sponsored teams, cricket teams and whatever. How many inquiries do you get out of that? No idea. Like somewhere you can measure what you're getting back from it, and that really will be Google Ads is a great one. It's not too hard to knock up a landing page and even get a consultant to help you do it. Or just come to OMA. Sorry, I should have said that first. Just come to OMA, don't worry about it. So I would probably do that. And then Facebook ads is all right, but the quality tends to be hit and miss. And if you're a smaller organisation, you've got to get a load of those before you can find someone you can work with. So where there is like a blue ocean of new customers for cheap, I don't think that exists. I think you've just got to try loads of stuff and hope for the best.
Yeah.
So can I just add to that?
Is
that okay? I think for me, the point there is around understanding who you're trying to talk to and where they want to be engaged and where they want to consume media, which was, I think, Helen's point at the beginning as well. Because how you target them and how you talk to them and how you engage with them needs to be relevant and where they want to be consumed and where they want to be talked to and engaged with. So the biggest point for me there from a broker advisor perspective is your insight. So you know best, you've got that knowledge, you've got that insight, you've got that experience. It's about articulating absolutely, but pull out that insight of what, where have I got my advisors, my introducers from before, or my customers, sorry, from before? Where have I spoke to them? What sort of things did they tell me in conversations about, what they like, what they don't like, how they, how they like to be, they like to consume media. Look at who you're targeting. People, I don't know, in my situation, my background, would I want to go to TikTok or Instagram? That's the latest thing. It's like, oh, you should be on TikTok, or you should be doing this on Instagram. And it's actually, well, is that where your target audience is? If it is, great, but just remember that insight and how key that is to your decision making.
And it's
sorry.
Also, lots of people go on social media because they think it's free. And what I mean by that is it's free to set up your own Instagram, Facebook profile, TikTok, whatever. But it's not free in terms of time. So you might not spend any money on your profile, and you might look at all these Instagram influencers, etc., and going, well, they don't spend any money and they're getting lots and lots of followers. But it's because they spent lots of time doing relevant, timely content, and you probably need to assess how much time you have in your business to make sure, because there's no point putting up loads and loads of social media sites and then they're not really good, or they don't really post, because when a customer is looking for a broker, they might be looking at your stuff, and it's probably better not to have something than to have a really poor TikTok site or a really poor Instagram page that has like 2 posts from 6 months ago that no one liked. So
okay, I think it's interesting because social media is a very good example of this, because you hear of brokers who've used it very, very well, but you don't hear anyone coming out saying how it completely failed for them because they just try to copy everyone else. So you got to do it for the right reasons, basically. But your point, Laura, about insight, for me, I used to bore marketing teams used to work for me. I use the advocacy of no insight, no action without insight, basically.
It's my second passion, Jeff. Afterwards.
Just to elaborate that to help the brokers, because insight will come from listening to their clients, and also data. You got the website can give you data, and etc. So it's just really sort of finding the time to do that. But the more they listen to the clients, the more they can then formulate ideas for whether it's content or where to reach them, and asking the right questions, because knowing that a client has come just because they've been referred to them, I think they need to understand the other steps they went through before they made contact, because they might have been on other brokers' websites, for example, and just knowing that whole process. So Tori, we've got a couple of questions. A couple of minutes left. So do you want to start off? I'm just going to give everyone the opportunity very quickly to sort of just summarise. You're all award-winning marketers, so any final tips, and also anything that your organisation is there for to help brokers as well?
I think we've all kind of mentioned it a couple of times, actually. I think the key thing is be realistic and don't overstretch yourself. You can't do 1,000,001 things. It's just never going to happen. So actually really be specific on what you can do, what is achievable, and set yourself some objectives and targets behind those. From our side, we have a marketing support deck that is available to brokers that are registered with us, and they can get hold of that by emailing our marketing email address, marketing@livermorecapital.com, and we can send you a copy, and it's got everything in there from how to write some social posts. We've got some PR quotes. It's a good deck.
I didn't say every time you mention your company name you have to give Andy some money.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I'm skint now then.
I'll just go around the screen, which I've seen in front of me. Helen, what about yourself? Any final thoughts, and what can Barclays do? Obviously, the podcast is really popular.
So we're always willing to help as much as we possibly can. Building on what Tori said about being realistic is don't punish yourself, or don't think bad of yourself if things aren't happening as quickly as you want them to. Everyone knows the word Barclays, but we've been around since I think it's the 17th century, so it took us some time. So don't worry about that, and just keep building on it. And I think, as it's also been mentioned, be consistent. just keep going. It's better to have smaller things done well than everything done not so well.
Okay. Pete, you're next in line.
Well, my final tips. I've probably covered everything. I think like sort your brand out, get the basics right, sort yourself out, and you know, consider how you come across to people, and I'd find a niche and hammer it.
Yeah.
I completely agree with what Helen just said. Don't put crap out there. You know, that's not what Helen said, but like, so you know, do it well, but do loads of it. Spend a lot of time on it. If you're really serious about it, you've got to put some time into it.
Yeah. And what can your organisation do to help the brokers?
Yeah, well, yeah, so we generate inquiries. So we do all that for you, basically, and you pay us for it. So just, you know, don't do anything and come to us. That would be
yeah. Cool. Ryan, yourself?
So I guess Tori covered what Livermore do already, but I guess what I would say is similar to everyone else. Kind of think about what you're good at, think about what you're not so good at, and don't be afraid to start small and be patient.
Yeah. And Laura, you can have the last word.
Oh, thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I think I echo everyone's point. You know, it's about consistency, it's about commitment, it's about being true to yourself. You know, your knowledge, your expertise, your experience. You know, value the insight that you're being told every single day from your customers and your clients, and what you're seeing out in the market. Don't get your head turned because, you know, somebody says, oh, you know, you should be on TikTok doing this or you should be doing that. You know, be committed and be consistent in your approach. In terms of Assessment Bancorp Group, I guess similar to Tori and Ryan, you know, we have numerous tools and resources available on the website. But if anybody genuinely wanted to reach out personally to me, they're more than welcome to. My email address is laura.martin-jones@sbg.co.uk. But I'm more than happy to chat to anybody.
Marvellous, thank you. So I hand back now to Andy. So thanks very much everyone for answering those questions, or not answering them, just whatever. That's fine. And apologies for the feedback that you were getting as well. So Andy.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and thank you very much for everybody for taking part in that session. That was fantastic and really insightful. Hopefully our readers and viewers have found that useful. The last bit, I'd just like to offer each of our award winners and our specialists today just the opportunity to do a little bit of a plug about what you do for our readers, and anywhere you want to point readers to a website or a social post. So in no particular order, Pete, where can people find out more about you and anything you need to say?
Yeah, just Google mortgage leads will probably come up, or go on oma.co.uk. And yeah, we help brokers get customers essentially. We'll make your phone ring, or we'll, you know, drive web inquiries, however you want to do it, really.
So thanks, Pete. Tori and Ryan.
You want to go, Ryan?
Look us up on livermoremortgages.com, or if you're on LinkedIn, find us on there, post on there quite a lot. And yeah, if you want to give us an email, we've got you can do it at any time, marketing@livermoremortgages.com, and yeah, I'm happy to chat.
Right, thanks Ryan. Laura.
Yeah, you can find us at sbg.co.uk. So we're the home for the financial advisors, so support you whether you are an AR through Sesame, through the network, or whether you're directly authorised. We have PMS Mortgage Club, and then we have Bankall support services, so for all your regulatory support.
Thank you. And Helen, finally. I think you're on mute, Helen.
Hi everyone. So I'm from Barclays, so you should know who I am, but we have a podcast out called Mortgage Insider, which features Phil Spencer of Location Fame. You can guess it wherever you get your podcast from. But if you have any questions for me directly, my name's Helen Carter and I'm on LinkedIn.
Superb. That's great. Thank you very much for everyone's time, and thanks again to Jeff for hosting that session. Thanks, Jeff.
That's all right. Send you my voice.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Nice to meet you.
Bye.
Thanks.